Hello and welcome back to the Owning Your Energy webinar series. I'm Suzanne Smith, and today I'd like to start with a question. What if your exhaustion isn't asking you to push harder? It's an interesting thought, isn't it? Because when you're living with low energy, it's a very natural instinct to look for the ways to kind of keep going. Perhaps you feel like if only you could just sleep for a little longer, or maybe find the right diet, or find the supplement that's going to make all the difference. Maybe you feel you need to manage your time more effectively or pace yourself better. And please don't misunderstand me. Sometimes these things are really helpful to do. But over the years, I've found myself wondering whether, in fact, there's another question that's worth asking. Not how do I keep going, but rather, what is it that I've stopped hearing? Now, that might seem like a strange question at first, so let me explain what I mean by it. Over the years, I've had the privilege of working with many wonderful women living with long-term exhaustion and chronic fatigue. These women are thoughtful, they're kind, capable, often the people that everyone else relies upon. And yet so many of them quietly tell me the same thing. I just don't feel like myself anymore. Sometimes they say, I feel like I've lost me. I don't know who I am anymore. Sometimes I hear, actually, I just want to feel like myself again. And every time I hear those words, I find myself thinking exactly the same thing. I don't believe that those women have disappeared. I think that they're simply spending so long responding to everyone and everything around them that they've had very little opportunity to hear themselves. And that can feel incredibly draining. When we think about energy, we naturally think about what we're doing. So maybe we're working, we're caring, we're supporting, we're remembering all the birthdays and organising the prezzies, we're organising appointments, we're managing households, we might be looking after parents, we might be looking after children, but we're usually trying to hold everything together. And all of these things require lots and lots of energy. But I've also come to believe something else as well, that your energy isn't only connected to what you do, it's also intimately connected to who you're trying to be. And just pause with that thought at the moment. Who are you trying to be? Are you perhaps trying to be the dependable one, the calm one, the capable one, the one who never lets anyone down, the one who keeps everyone happy, or perhaps the one who copes? Maybe you're trying to be something else, I don't know. Kind of think about what it might be for you. Now, none of these things are wrong. In fact, I think they're often wonderful qualities. But trying to be them all the time takes up your energy. Sometimes far, far more energy than perhaps you realise. I wonder whether you've ever replayed a conversation in your head, wondering whether you've said the right thing, the wrong thing, or could have said it slightly better. Or perhaps you found yourself saying yes, when in actual fact, every part of you simply wanted to go, no, I can't do that. Perhaps you've smiled because you didn't want anyone to know how difficult things have felt. Or perhaps you've simply carried on because everyone else seems to need you. Now, on their own, these moments don't seem particularly significant, but together they quietly add up. And over weeks, over months, sometimes over years, they can actually leave you feeling utterly exhausted. Not because you're weak, not because you're failing, simply because you've been carrying far more than anyone else can see. One of the things that I really love about the work that I do is helping people to notice these patterns and understand that they don't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with them. In actual fact, it's quite the opposite. Most of them began as ways of coping, ways of fitting in, of staying safe, of avoiding conflict, of feeling accepted, or maybe keeping relationships going. And they very often made sense. And if something helped once in the past, it's only natural that you'd keep doing it. I'll be exploring that in a bit more detail in my next video. But for today, I'd simply like you to notice something. I'd like you to notice how often your attention is focused outwards, on what everyone else needs, what everyone else expects, or how everyone else feels. And then just gently ask yourself, what about me? Not in a selfish way, not because other people don't matter, but because you matter too. Sometimes we think that finding our voice means that we need to become much louder, much more confident, much more assertive. I'm not sure that's true. I actually wonder whether it's something that's much, much quieter than that. I wonder if perhaps finding your voice begins by simply listening. Listening to the thoughts that we push aside, listening to the feelings that we've ignored, listening to those little moments where something inside of us quietly says, do you know what, I'm not okay with this? Or actually, I'd like something different. Those moments are the ones that are very easy to dismiss, especially if you've spent years looking after everyone else. But they are important because very often they are your own instinctive, intuitive wisdom trying to get your attention. And there's one final thought I'd like to leave you with today. If you've recognized yourself in any part of this conversation, please don't use it as another reason to criticize yourself. Please don't think, oh, I know this, I shouldn't be like this. Instead, perhaps simply become curious. Ask yourself, I wonder why I learned to do that. I wonder what I was protecting. I wonder what I needed back then. It's been my experience that curiosity has a wonderful way of softening judgment. And when that judgment softens, we kind of create space to understand ourselves, space to reconnect, space to hear ourselves again. And sometimes it's in that space that change begins, not with striving or pushing harder, but with simply listening. Thank you so much for spending these few minutes with me today. If this conversation has resonated with you, I'd love to join me for the next video, where we'll be exploring why many of these patterns make perfect sense and why understanding them can be one of the kindest things that we can ever do for ourselves. And if you'd like to explore these ideas more deeply, you'll also find a link to the full webinar, to the full webinar that I recorded and it's up for replay. So until next time, take good care of yourself, and perhaps, just for today, see if you can create a few moments of space to hear your own voice.